girlfriend Pam, her teenage son Duncan, and his daughter Steph to their beach house for a summer vacation. Duncan is quiet and introverted, but Trent, trying to connect with him as a father figure, is not very nice to him. While the girls sleep, Trent tells Duncan he needs to be more outgoing and rates him poorly when asked to rate himself. Duncan feels hurt but doesn't say anything, just putting his headphones back on. On the way, Duncan shares a smile with a cool guy in a convertible behind them. When they arrive, their lively neighbor Betty welcomes them and immediately starts chatting with Pam and the kids. Betty's daughter Susanna catches Duncan's eye, and it's clear he likes her. Inside, Betty talks a lot about her life drama while Pam and Trent unpack. Steph is eager to hit the beach, but Trent insists Duncan go with her for some alone time. Steph and her friends, including Susanna, gossip and swim, but Duncan feels left out. Susanna stands out as she reads instead of joining the gossip. When the girls pressure Susanna into swimming, Duncan decides to leave. He encounters Betty and her son Peter, but Duncan isn't interested in spending time with him. Back home, Duncan listens to music on Trent's car and sings until Susanna catches him. Embarrassed, he goes inside where a party is happening. Joan and Kip, Trent's friends, try to include Duncan in the fun, but he feels awkward. Steph announces she's going out again, leaving the others to gather around the table. Trent confronts Duncan about being on his car, but Duncan lies to avoid trouble. Despite attempts at jokes, Duncan doesn't feel comfortable and leaves the table. He went outside. At the same time, Susanna came out of her house, so they talked from their porches. They bonded over how much they disliked being there, but it was a short chat. The next morning, Duncan saw Steph leaving. There was a note and money on the table from his mom. He took the money, dodged Peter and Betty, and got a bike from the garage. He rode around town and met Owen at a pizzeria. Owen gave Duncan the Pac-Man game, then left. Duncan returned home as the family prepared to leave for the boat. Trent made only him wear a life jacket, even though he could swim. Duncan was unhappy. Pam talked about how she met Trent, but Duncan felt distant. Later, he saw others having fun while he cleaned inside. The next morning, Duncan skipped breakfast, grabbed his bike, and went to the water park. He sat alone until Owen said hi. Duncan left shortly after, and Susanna greeted him outside her house. They talked, but Duncan didn't notice her flirting. He rode home, but avoided going inside when he saw Joan enter. He waited until the lights were out before going in, hoping to avoid talking, but Trent was still awake, so they ended up talking anyway. He tells Duncan they need trust and respect to make things work. Duncan agrees reluctantly, eager to go to sleep. The next day, Duncan is back at Water Whiz, and Owen shows him around. They meet the staff. Lewis gives Duncan shorts, Caitlin is Owen's girlfriend, and Rhodey is a bit weird. They go down the water slide, and Duncan loses his shorts in a pool. After a fun day, Owen offers to take Duncan home, revealing he's the cool guy from the convertible. They chat during the ride, and Owen offers Duncan a job at the park, which excites him. Back home, Duncan's mom scolds him for staying out all day. He cheekily points out she's done the same. She invites him to Betty's 4th of July cookout, and Duncan later shares a moment with Susanna. He goes to get food, and Susanna joins him for a chat. When his mom leaves with Trent, Duncan loses his appetite. Susanna suggests they hunt ghost crabs, and Duncan agrees. Now they're walking along the beach, getting to know each other. Duncan talks about how much his mom is changing, staying out late, drinking, and smoking pot. When they return home, they go their separate ways, and guess what Duncan sees? Trent and Joan making out. Shocking, right? Trent walks past Duncan without even noticing him. It's like being invisible. Trent and Joan rejoin the group, and unsuspecting Pam is there, laughing. The next morning, Duncan starts his new job. 5 minutes in, Owen asks him to break up a group of teenagers dancing in the park. Owen promises they'll listen since Duncan's wearing the staff shirt, but they want to see his moves first. So Duncan tries to dance. Not very well though. The kids are cool and teach him some moves before letting him do his job. Duncan feels better about himself. He's loving the job and gaining confidence. Meanwhile, 3 mischievous kids get stuck in the water slide. Owen sends a bigger kid down to push them off, which works but upsets Caitlin. She yells at Owen, saying she doesn't like who she is around him, hurting Owen's feelings. Back home, Pam suggests they do something together, but Trent wants to see a movie with Kip and Joan. Pam just wants family time, so they end up playing Candyland, which annoys both Duncan and Pam, especially Pam. She leaves and goes to set the dinner table, but suddenly starts crying and goes upstairs. The next day, Duncan rides his bike to work and Susanna follows him. Even though it's Duncan's day off, he's happy to see Owen and Caitlin flirting. It's the first time I've seen him smile since the movie started. Susanna walks up to him and explains she followed him earlier, then went back for her swimming stuff. Owen and Rhodey tease Duncan about talking to an older girl. Duncan shows Susanna around the park, and they spend the whole day together, having a great time. When they get home, Steph is angry with Susanna for ditching her, even though they didn't have plans. Pam announces dinner is almost ready, so Duncan and Steph go inside while Susanna goes home. Trent isn't home, and dinner is awkward. Pam asks Steph about her boyfriend, and Steph says they broke up. Steph even helps with the dishes, surprising everyone. Later that night, Duncan hears Trent explaining to Pam that he was with Kip all day. Duncan isn't happy seeing his mom being lied to. The next morning, he gives Trent a hard time, but doesn't say anything yet. Later that night, there's another party going on, and it really annoys Duncan when Joan tries to act friendly at their table. She even pulls Trent for a dance, making Pam suspicious. Pam notices some flirting between Kip and Betty and decides to leave. Duncan follows and confronts her in front of everyone, challenging her to do something about Trent's affair. Trent tries to dismiss Duncan, but Duncan pushes him away, almost starting a fight. Kip and Pam intervene, and Duncan expresses his wish to be with his dad, to which Trent cruelly responds that his father doesn't want him. Duncan asks his mom if it's true, but she doesn't answer, so he walks away. Susanna follows Duncan and tries to comfort him with stories, but he remains silent. He awkwardly tries to kiss her, but she's not interested, so he apologizes and leaves. At home, he finds Trent apologizing to his mom, but he's not ready to deal with it, so he goes to Waterwiz. Peter blackmails him into taking him along. They try to sneak in, but Rhodey shows them the gate is open. There's a party at Waterwiz, saying goodbye to Lewis. Owen stops Peter from drinking and boosts his confidence about his eyes, which his mom bullies him for. Owen tells Duncan he can only stay for a while before he must go home. Now we're supposed to listen to Lewis give his goodbye speech, but Duncan and Rhodey interrupt with water guns, starting a tradition of a full-on water fight. Everyone joins in, and it's a blast. Watching Caitlin and Owen make up slowly restores Duncan's belief in love. The party goes on all night, and Owen forgets to send Duncan home until sunrise. When he finally does, Duncan wishes he could stay at Waterwiz forever. During a deep conversation, Duncan confides in Owen about his unhappiness with his mom's boyfriend, especially after being insulted. Owen shares his own experiences and encourages Duncan. Duncan and Peter head home, where Betty confronts Peter, who responds surprisingly maturely. Duncan faces Trent, proposing to start over, but he's not keen on the idea. Inside, he finds his mom packing to leave with Trent, which upsets him greatly. Pam tries to explain, but Duncan doesn't want to hear it. He's devastated to learn they're all going back together. He goes to say goodbye to Susanna before getting in the car, but she surprises him with a quick kiss. He's overjoyed, unable to believe how great his summer has been. With a smile on his face, he gets in the car, but when they pass Waterwiz, he feels regret. At a gas station stop, he runs back to the park to bid farewell to Owen and the gang. His mom follows and discovers for the first time that he worked there and was even Employee of the Month. Trent and Steph join them for Duncan's farewell at Waterwiz. Duncan wants to try passing someone on the water slide, a feat never done before. Owen goes first, followed by Duncan, who successfully passes him, making history. Afterward, Duncan introduces Owen to his mom, and Owen meets Trent, who reacts protectively. Trent and Steph leave, and Duncan asks for a moment alone with the guys. Owen says goodbye to Caitlin, Rhodey, and Lewis, then shares a hug with Duncan, thanking him for everything. The ride home is awkward, especially for Pam sitting in the front seat, but she eventually joins Duncan in the back, which makes him happy. And that's how it ends. Now that the movie is over, feel free to wipe away those tears.